Good morning, friends. Adab, Sat Sri Akal. I'm once again, in this biting cold of Ambala, and a Merry Christmas to everybody. This is again, I'm talking of a very subject which we people in the last 60-70 years due to the GLR have been gagged in, that we are B3 lands. None of us have ever pleaded that we are category 3 lands. Now, how come we become B3? So, now, I was talking to some very senior members of my association in 2009. I remember this is somewhere in the month of September 2009. Mr. Wahal used to make sure that he used to talk to me every 1 hour, half an hour during that period. And so we were discussing these rules and managements, and he used to, something which he understood and which I wanted people to understand, and then we could draw something for the betterment of these inhabitants living in these cantonments. Now we have to understand foremost, and we are not category B3 lands. We are category 3 lands. Now, are we under the Governor General Order? No, we are not. If we were under the Governor General Order, we would have been a new grant. Now, why are we called old grants? What does the CLA rules or 1925-37 to the Cantonment Code say? All these 4 rules and code have that there were private lands in these cantonments. But now if you pick up judgments, TP Act is not applicable on us. There is no private lands within the boundary pillars of the cantonment. So there's so much of travesty. Uneducation has reached to the pinnacle. I'm ashamed to the best of the people in this line and judiciary and in this executives. They don't read. I remember there was an officer in Ambala, he says, Mr. Das, the amount of salary we get, we read only that much. You pay me, I'll read more. Just imagine. So now what are we talking? How clearly we can be proven that we were private lands. And we were never subjected to the management of the MU at least, or DO. And even CO, he had only 3 rights on us, not the 4th. Now, if we read Rule 9, Subpara 4, which is the management of the lands, we read Rule 10, Subpara 1 and Subpara 3, that is talking of maintenance of GLR. We read Rule 44, it says transfer of properties in bazaar area. Rule 45, Sub 3, executive officer will inform of every sale. Rule 45, Sub 2 says any transfer under TPA Act covered by the Cantonment Act 287, 1924 has to be subjected other than bazaar area under the Rule 45 2 Subpara 2. Now the same discussion has been done on my video and was being done by late Mr. Wahal and Indurakia. So the conclusion now comes, how are we private properties? All immovable properties which fall outside bazaar area and registered under section 45, 59, 107, 123 of the TPA Act are private properties. How is this to be explained now? So let's try and get to it, and let's see if we can achieve it on our videos, and if people can talk to me also. Now if we read Rule 9, which is for the management of land, what does it say? B3, B4 land under the management so and so as per the letters of 1942, further specified, have been entrusted by the central government to the that bazaar area exclusivity have been entrusted to the Cantonment Board under again section 43A. Now those lands which are not a part of the bazaar area are moving to the MEO. This is what this rule says. But it mentions some letters. Now if we read those letters very precisely, what is the management of Cantonment Board? And from the date mentioned in Rule 2 sub 3, as per section 43A of the Cantonment Act 1924. Now CLA rule sub rule 2 sub para 3 reads, the area which have been declared by notification under rule section 43A of the Act to be bazaar area as shown in defense notification as follows. Now Act 43A of the Act reads the civil area of any cantonment under section 13 to be made. Now that means any area prior to 1937 Rule 43 or rule, there was no bazaar area in these cantonments. Now Rule 9 if we read, subpara 3, again the management to the MEO. It says on various letters of 1938, lands categorized in B3, B4, other than those lands which have been entrusted to the board, has been entrusted in sub-rule 5 of the rules to the management of the MEO. Once again, if you read this, what is it showing? It is mentioning some dates as per the rule, sub-rule 5 of Rule 9. It clearly reads what? Which I just read in my earlier video. It only reads A1 lands or A lands. Nowhere it says B or C or any of the other lands. So the MEO is entrusted to only these lands. Now read Rule 9.5 for the duties and management of Class A lands. We will read section 14 or rule. These relates, if you cobwebly try and solve this puzzle in letters of the British, they very smartly said bazaar area, no bazaar area, prior to this date, prior to that cut date, whether falling within the Cantonment Code 1899. So wasn't there any bazaar area in 1899? So why are those sections there in those 1899 code? That leases to be given in bazaar area and leases to be given outside the bazaar area. So what were those areas in 1899 which were bazaar area and non-bazaar areas? We need to solve this cobweb puzzle. Now I'll read, this is one part I read. Now I'll read the second part. I'll call it section B. Rule 10.1. What does it state? It states the maintenance of the Journal Land Register, which is the Bible for everybody, after Surinder Kumar Vakil's judgment. How is it prepared? It is prepared under Rule 3. Of all lands, other lands in bazaar, the management which is entrusted to or vests in the board, and shall register all mutation in column 1 thereof, and shall enter therein every transfer of right or interest in land in a cantonment registered under section 54, 59, 107, 123 of the TP Act, of which information has been sent to him under subsection 2 of 287 of the Cantonment Act 1924, or by the board by itself. So here again we are reading this. Under 287, sales were never restricted in these areas. There was no bazaar area during that period. So what was that bazaar area? That was your bungalow area plus the bazaar area. Similarly, in section 73 of the Act again of Cantonment says, if you read Rule 45, here it reads at section 73 of the Cantonment Act, which is under the chapter of taxation, which says that the change of name will be made as to make show from whom the revenue of land or building or combined land with building has to be made. So it clearly says to whom the title is devolving. And yet we do not ask for an assessment list when the cantonment executive officer or the tax superintendent is making a tax survey. So read Rule 45, the duties or functions assigned to the MEO as per General Land Register made under Rule 10. Friends, wake up. This is what I can say. Now again in this subpart, now this section is C, where we will discuss the GLR, which is being prepared as per Rule 45, as per Rule 10, as per Rule 3 of CLA. The executive officer shall forward the MEO a monthly statement, what I had earlier stated, of all those which has been either received from the sub-registrar, any transfer in any immovable property under or outside the bazaar area, under TPA Act, received or non-received under Section 287 of the Cantonment Act. So sales were never restricted. So where is that GGO coming on us and bibling on to us and saying that we cannot sell our bungalows, or we have to take an NOC from the MEO or from the Ministry of the... So, how other than bazaar area, within bazaar area, all this needs to be discussed. Even today, believe me, if you watch my video and these particular 3 videos on management and jumbling it up with my B3 lands and category 3 lands, and then how the GLR had to be maintained, and what were the duties as per these rules made under CLA of the MEO and CO. Believe me, nobody will understand. Please watch these videos again and again and try and make your notes. Thank you. Good day.